Hello, and welcome to this asynchronous tutorial all about generative AI. My name is Michael Myers, and I am the Digital Literacies Librarian here at Seneca Polytechnic, and I'll be your guide as we work through this four-part series on generative AI. In this first session, we will be covering what is generative AI and how it works. But before we jump into the exciting world of generative AI, let's talk a little bit about the sandbox first. The Seneca Sandbox are a set of studio spaces that you can book for free as students. In these spaces, you'll be able to create all the digital media that you would like. They come equipped with professional photography equipment, filming equipment, and there's even audio recording suites like the one I'm in today. All these spaces come with all the equipment that you need to create maybe the next best podcast, amazing infographics, some photography, some videos, you name it, we can support you. There's also staff on hand to make sure that you are set up for success. Our goal at the Seneca Sandbox is to promote digital literacy skills, whether that's creating a website, a video, photography, podcasting, or even AI. So come on down and check out our bookable studio spaces. But we also offer more than that. We also offer online learning modules that you can use to explore the exciting world of digital media. And you can also attend some of our custom courses as requested by your faculty. And we also offer digital media appointments. The digital media appointments is the best way that you can get one-on-one support from the Seneca Sandbox staff. You can find this all on our website and also our 3D printers. Our website is discoverable by doing a Google search for Seneca Sandbox. We are the first hit that appears, but you can also find us on the larger Seneca Libraries website. So if you're on the Seneca Libraries website, all you need to do is scroll down and you'll see Sandbox right here. When you click on it, you'll be able to see our hours, you'll be able to book a studio space, and if you click on this, you'll be able to start seeing some of our equipment and spaces that you can use, again, for free. You can also book a 3D printer. Now, before you can book a 3D printer, we do request that you do complete a quick training module. And once you do, you'll be able to book a 3D printer in our spaces. Also, you can access our online learning resources right next to the 3D printer. And also you can access our digital media appointment service that I just talked about. Here, you'll be able to learn all about this service and request it by clicking here. There's a couple of questions that we ask for some information before you can book a digital media appointment, but it's very easy to do so. So come on down and check out our studio spaces or access some of our online resources as well. We look forward to helping you on your journeys through digital media and AI. Now that we've explored everything that the Sandbox has to offer, let's explore the exciting world of generative AI. Let's begin by talking about what is generative AI. When ChatGPT came out a couple years ago now, all of a sudden we started talking about AI everywhere. We started talking about AI with our friends, family, we heard our instructors speak about it, we even heard it in the news. And because of all this new talk around artificial intelligence, you may have thought that artificial intelligence is something brand new. But in fact, artificial intelligence has actually been around for quite some time. Artificial intelligence is integrated in so many aspects of our life and so many professions as well. If you're using a mobile device with a facial recognition aspect or predictive text or anything that has smart technology, that is available to us because of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, like I said, has been integrated around us for quite some time, but generative AI is a fairly new aspect of artificial intelligence. Generative AI is a big leap forward for this exciting technology. And if we want to break down what generative AI means, let's look at the name. Generative refers to its capability to generate new content. I put new in quotations because with AI, there is so many debates about ethical use and other considerations, which we'll get into in a later aspect of this tutorial. But there is an argument to be made that the content that AI is generating is not actually new, it's more of a remix or regurgitation of pre-existing content. But that is a debate that I won't go into right now. For the purpose of this definition, generative AI can generate new content based on the prompts that we provide. So this can generate text, images, videos, and so many more opportunities. It is a very exciting technology that really opens up a lot of opportunities for creation. This generative aspect of AI moves it forward and as it progresses. Now, there are so many examples of generative AI tools. I'm sure all of you are aware of ChatGPT, but there's also Microsoft's Copilot, which is the approved tool for use here at Seneca. Google has Gemini, there's Character AI, Perplexity, Elicit, Beautiful AI, the list goes on. And I always like to showcase this resource here. It is known as Futurepedia. This is a great website to check out if you are looking for any new exciting AI tools. There is basically a new AI tool every single day. We are living in an AI boom right now. So this is a great repository that you can check out to explore AI tools for customer service, sales, back office, some popular tools, and they also offer AI courses. So this is a great resource to explore the world of AI, both from a tool perspective and also for some information learning. So I recommend that you check that out. Now, just to hammer the point between artificial intelligence and generative AI, let's play a little lingo. Like I mentioned, AI is integrated in our lives and in our technology more than we might realize. So maybe you've gotten a weather forecast for a website or used a weather app. That's powered by AI. Maybe you've clicked on an Instagram ad. That's powered by AI. Maybe you used a Snapchat filter or a TikTok filter. That's available to us because of AI. Or maybe you used a map app to navigate your way around Toronto. That's available to us because of AI. Or maybe you've seen a suggested response to a Gmail. That is all available to us by AI. So AI is definitely not new, but generative AI is, and there's so many more capabilities that come through using generative AI. And we're going to explore a lot more of these, but it's important to have an understanding of how it differs from what we might call traditional AI. Now that we have an understanding of the difference between traditional AI and generative AI, let's look closer now at generative AI and how it works. Now, in this section of this tutorial, I will not be doing nitty-gritty details about computer coding and how it really operates. I'll be giving high-level definitions and explanations of how it can actually exist for us to use. So, with that in mind, generative AI, traditional AI, smart technology, all this type of technology can be classified under a larger term known as machine learning. Now, if we take a step back and look at that, that's pretty impressive. We've taught machines how to learn. Again, I'm throwing it in quotations because the type of learning that AI does is actually different from our own, but it does have the capacity to learn. So let's look at how that actually can happen. The bedrock of artificial intelligence, generative AI, smart technology is algorithms. Now, algorithms are probably one of the most powerful things that we interact with every single day, whether we realize it or not. Algorithms exist in social media and search engines, and they also power all these types of technologies. Now, you're probably more familiar with algorithms in a social media context. We're all aware that our Instagrams or TikTok or whatever social media that you're using is personalized to yourself, and my Instagram will look very different from yours. And that is because there's an algorithm in social media that watches what you like, comment, share, or even engage with, and starts to analyze that to identify patterns. And then based on those patterns, it will make decisions based off of probability. So for example, in the social media context, if I'm looking up content about Newfoundland and I'm liking some images of Newfoundland, the algorithm in my social media might start to show me more content about Newfoundland. It might even show me some content about Nova Scotia because it's also an East Coast province. And then all of a sudden, my ads on Instagram might be for tourism Newfoundland or visit Halifax. And that's because of the algorithms in social media. Algorithms use statistical analysis to identify patterns and then make decisions based off of those patterns and using probability. So another really good example of seeing algorithms at play is when you're texting and you have your phone suggesting what words you might want to use next in your sentence. The algorithm behind that artificial intelligence has identified the pattern of your sentence and has made a decision that the most probable outcome is maybe these 3 words or maybe this word. So algorithms really do have an impact on the information that we see, and they are the bedrock of artificial intelligence and generative AI. So as a final reminder, algorithms use statistical analysis to identify patterns and then make decisions based on that pattern and probability. Now, algorithms that we see in social media and search engines are really just that, as I just explained, but artificial intelligence can go further than just algorithmic thinking. And this is because of artificial neural networks, or ANNs. Now, as humans, we have neural networks ourselves. It's our brain. So essentially, we've mapped the neural network capabilities of our brain and recreated that artificially for artificial intelligence. So this powers AI to go beyond just algorithmic decision making based off of probability. It allows AI to employ what we call deep learning. Now, this deep learning refers to the ability for AI to make decisions not just based on probability, but also adding in human reasoning, logic, and some more nuanced levels of decision making. So it creates an ability for AI to go deeper, so that deep learning is associated with that. Now, the word deep is quite heavily associated with artificial intelligence because of this deep learning capability. We start to see it now that we start to notice it more and more now that we've pointed it out, such as deep seek, deep research, or deep search. These are all references to AI's capability to do deep learning. Now, traditional artificial intelligence was utilizing ANNs, and then along came generative AI. And this is available to us because of GPTs. Now, I know you've all said GPT because you've probably said ChatGPT at some point in your life. But maybe you didn't realize that GPT actually stands for something, and that stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So if we look at this a little bit more closely, this technology transforms the ability to do deep learning into generative content based on pre-training. So a GPT allows AI to basically communicate with us and translate its deep learning into actual content. So that can be text, images, or videos based on the prompts that we provided. So an analogy that I like to use is think of an ANN as an AI's brain and the GPT as the mouth that it communicates with. However, a GPT needs pre-training. It needs something to reference, something to pull from. And this is known as large language modules, or LLMs. Now, I know you probably all heard of GPTs, and you may or may not have heard of LLMs. But the LLMs is the language that a GPT speaks. So going back to that analogy, ANN is AI's brain, GPT is its mouth, the large language module is the language it speaks. Now, in this very simple flowchart, it might seem that you need a GPT and then a large language module, but in fact, these two technologies work hand in hand. You can't have a GPT without a large language module, and vice versa. So a large language module is the training that a GPT receives. Now, tools like ChatGPT and Copilot, their large language modules are massive because these tools are trying to cover basically everything. So these can be amazing tools to go to and ask questions about almost anything. But because of its wide breadth, it doesn't necessarily have the deepest knowledge of one particular subject. Just a couple minutes ago, I showed you Futurepedia that has a list of so many different tools that are trained to do different things. And this is because the GPT training in those tools was different, and it might be more specialized. So you might actually start to discover tools that can go deeper on a knowledge set or a specific task because its training was more specific. I've seen tools that are trained just to help you write cover letters, so their knowledge of cover letters might actually go deeper than Copilot or ChatGPT's. So it's an interesting thing to have a perspective of what type of training goes behind the GPTs to make these available to us. Again, these are large strokes, big definitions, but I do think it's important to have an understanding of how this tool can actually exist through GPTs, ANNs, and large language modules. But let's take a deeper dive on the GPT functions and get a little bit of an understanding of what happens after we feed a prompt to an AI tool. Once a GPT has been trained, I can now access an AI tool and start prompting. The first thing that happens when a GPT receives my prompt is that it will take my prompt and break it out into smaller units, known as tokens. Now, if you're somebody who utilizes AI, you may have already come across the term tokens, or you may have seen the term credits. Credits and tokens are essentially referring to the same thing. AI will begin by looking at my prompt and understand what the requested actions are and how much effort it needs to conduct so that it actually can accomplish the prompt's requests. Now, we do this as humans as well. When we have an assignment, we'll start off by brainstorming, researching, writing, editing, and reviewing. So this is essentially a similar process. AI will break out its prompt and understand, okay, to get the required output, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And it refers to these as tokens. Now, a lot of tools will let you use their AI functionalities for free up to a certain point. If you're somebody who uses ChatGPT and you don't pay for it, when you start prompting in ChatGPT, you're actually using their GPT-4, which is their highest GPT. But if you don't pay for continued access, after a couple of prompts, they knock you down to GPT-3. And essentially what's happening here is that they've given you a couple of free tokens that you can use on their premium model. And once you use those up, they knock you down to their basic model. A lot of AI tools do this now. You'll start to see it more and more now that you have the terminology tokens in your mind. So after an AI has dissected its prompts to understand exactly what needs to be accomplished, it feeds all of those individual prompts through its GPT functions. So like I said in the earlier section of this tutorial, AI will use algorithms and ANN processing, including deep learning, to conduct statistical analysis to identify patterns and then make decisions based off of probability, human reasoning, logic, and other nuanced aspects. So this process really is the thinking process. It starts to pull together ideas, thoughts, words, and kind of makes a theoretical word cloud of all the different ideas that are associated with all the different tokens that it's fed through its processing. And it starts to combine all of the ideas for each individual token into one cohesive output. And this is known as the conversion phase. And this starts to convert it into actual readable text. Now, this is starting to resemble output that we're very familiar with if we used AI before. But before we even see the AI's output, all AI tools go through what is known as guardrails. Guardrails is a way to filter out any offensive content, whether it's profanity or anything that the AI tool determines is against the terms and conditions of the usage. So all AI tools go through this filtering process to make sure that the output that you receive is removed of any offensive content or anything that could be determined as offensive. Now, the guardrails for different tools looks very different, so it's actually a really interesting thing to look a little bit deeper in to understand which guardrails are in play for which AI tools. So you'll start to maybe notice that more and more as you compare answers between AI tools. Then it just repeats steps 2 to 4 many times until it reaches a maximum token limit or predefined stopping criteria. We're going to be talking about these GPT functions again in the prompting section of this tutorial, so keep in mind tokens and predefined stopping criteria. We'll touch on those again in the prompting section. But lastly, the output gets post-processed, which means it just has punctuation applied to it, formatting, and readability to increase its output. So by the time we see it, it looks all shiny and professional. So this is what's happening in the back end with a GPT as it receives our prompt. It happens in nanoseconds. It's a very, very impressive technology. But having an understanding of some of these functions allows us to write better prompts that are well suited for this aspect of AI processing. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in prompting. But this is the process for text generators. I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about image generators, because they're a little bit different. Image generators really operate around this two-persona idea. When I go to an image generator and I put in a prompt, AI is going to receive that prompt and it's going to feed that prompt to what is known as the generator and the discriminator. Now, in an AI image generating tool, the generator will take the prompt and try to generate something based off its pre-training that accomplishes the request in the prompt. When it has completed an image, it showcases that image to its second persona, which is known as the discriminator, and the discriminator will look at that image and tear it apart, basically, and compare it to real images, so that it can make suggestions and feedback to improve the generator's image. So now this back and forth happens thousands of times, where the generator will generate something, the discriminator will provide feedback, the generator will regenerate something, and then the discriminator will provide more feedback, and it kind of goes through this circular loop many times until it's satisfied the discriminator that the image that the generator has created is close enough to real images. Now, if you're somebody who has been playing around with AI image generators from the very beginning, a couple years ago with DALL-E, you may have noticed that images have been getting better because as more people use it, the discriminators and generators are being more and more trained. So we're definitely seeing an increase of quality in AI images, but there's definitely still some telltale signs for AI images. Now there's other different types of AI image generators. I only covered the most common one here, but I'll provide a resource with more information on the different types of image generators in the next section of this tutorial. Thank you for attending this first section of the Generative AI for Part Asynchronous tutorial. As a way to conclude, I have some helpful resources that you might want to watch or engage with at your own time for some deeper learning. First, I have a great video here that talks a little bit more about how traditional AI came to be. Secondly, there's a great video that walks you through the difference between traditional AI and generative AI available to you here. Lastly, I have some resources and references that will be listed in the description section of whichever platform that you are watching this on. So whether it's on YouTube, H5P, or the library guide, be sure to explore all the resources linked in the description. There's some more here for you, and some more there for you. And lastly, I want to remind you that the Seneca Libraries has a generative AI guide that can help you understand some of the basics that I've covered today in a different format. Thank you so much for taking the time to review this video, and I'll see you in the next section of this tutorial. Thank you.